Nebraska knocks off the top-ranked team in the country, and they are storming the floor. They are storming the floor. They are storming the floor. Love it. Sign your name, Fred Hoiberg. There's your signature win.
Line drive towards second. Caden Brumbaugh is there. He squeezes the line drive. And on a night filled with emotion, honoring our leader, Greg Sharp, with his eyes on the diamond and his hands on our shoulders, Nebraska takes down 16th-ranked Vanderbilt 6-4. Sharpie, that one is for you.
Now, here's Tom Stevens and Mike Melby on 1499.3 KLIN.
The 1-2 pitch. Popped up into center field. This is sending Riley Silva back towards the wall. And this one is he made the catch. Oh, my goodness. Riley Silva leaps and makes a game-saving catch in deep right center field. A ball that looked like it was going out. And just like that, Nebraska wins.
And Nebraska does salvage the final game of the series today. They beat Iowa 6-4 after losing game 1, 1-0, and game 2, 11-6 after holding a lead late. They could not hold on. Iowa wins the series, but Nebraska gets a much-needed win. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Tom?
I'm lovely. Watching the Masters, keeping an eye on the TV. Rory McIlroy, who had a stranglehold on the Masters, needs the Masters to complete his career Grand Slam. He was 14 under at one time. It was like 14, and the next closest was 9. There were a couple of guys, and then they backed up to 8. It looks like he was just going to coast to the Masters. Did he hit one close?
The shot he just pulled off, though, he was in the woods, and he hooked one. Probably 60 yards. Watch. He hooked this like 60 yards.
He's done this all day long. I mean, he's been in trouble all day long. He's probably the best driver of the golf ball of all time, and that's on 15, so that's for eagle. Man. If he makes that putt, that's for eagle.
Good.
I'm not a big Rory fan.
I've always liked him, and when Live Golf came around, I've become a huge Rory fan. So.
I don't like Live Golf either. It was when golf, Rory said this, maybe it's just petty on my part, but Rory once said, I don't really like golf. I do it because I'm really good at it. And that just turned me off a little bit.
Yeah. Tiger did a lot of stuff that turned a lot of people off.
I agree.
And
I agree.
I was a fan until recently. So
you can like whatever you want to like. I mean, This is America. Last time it is America, right? I think it is. I'll check on that.
It is for now.
I'll check on
back
that
next Tuesday.
Yeah, there you go. Let's get to the first pitch with Mike Melby.
Now the first pitch on Husker Rewind.
Kicks and deals the 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Jackson Brockett has the first 9-inning no-hitter for the Nebraska Cornhuskers since 1954, and he did it on his 12th strikeout. The night belongs to 33.
That was actually the last pitch.
Yeah.
I love that new intro, though. Nebraska baseball, as we just talked about, now sit at 16-20 on the year, 5-10 in the Big Ten Conference. They lose another conference series, 2-1 to Iowa over in Iowa City today, but win 6-4 on a game-saving. Well, it wasn't really a game-saving. I think it would have been a solo shot. But
I think
still
so.
a 6-4 win today. Riley Silva,
a web gem.
robbed a home run from an Iowa player. Softball, last I saw, was up 4-0 on Northwestern. That was in the first. I'm sure they're going to roll. They just
more home runs. I think they're second in the
Northwestern
nation in home runs.
Yeah, Ohio State. I believe there's only one Big Ten team to ever hit over 100. It was Michigan. They hit like 115. Ohio State probably will shatter that record. They're at 94 already, and Nebraska may get to 100. But softball 30-10, 9-3. It'll be 10-3 after they win today against Northwestern. Bowling, congrats, but at the same time, ladies, I know you deserved a national title. They wind up third at the NCAA championships. Again, just unbelievably talented. One of the best programs that there is in the country. Nebraska bowling, though, winds up third at nationals. And basketball, obviously Nebraska won the crown. And as a matter of fact, that championship game was on instead of us last week, and it was a lot of fun to watch.
The only reason we weren't on is because they were on winning the crown.
Yeah, and it was funny because when Jawan went down, and I believe we were down by 4 or 7 at that point when he got hit on the head. And when he came back in, we were down 14, and they got the ball to him, and he did that short little jump hook on the far side. And as soon as he made that, I turned and I looked at Tracy and I said, they're going to win this damn thing. And she goes, they're down 12. I said, no, trust me. And she's like, I will not argue with you.
No.
I don't know why you know what's going on. And I said, because there's numerous games this year when Nebraska choked at the end of football games. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to tell you exactly what we're going to do here. And, it's so
when he got conked on the head, it really helped him. I mean, in fact, Hoiberg mentioned it. He played much better. I wish he would have got conked on the head earlier. But he went out and he said something like, I'm not going to lose my last game. And he has that. You can see it. Some guys say that. With Jawan, he plays with a will. When he really wants to play, you could tell Jawan really wants to play.
I think
and he didn't want to go out anything other than a winner, and they get $17,000.
Yeah.
$17 million. $17 trillion. I don't know what it was. $17,000 a piece.
Yeah. $300,000. I mean, I've never been a big Gus Johnson fan.
I thought they did a nice job.
The production was good.
Was really good.
Kugler
was involved.
I don't like Gus. I just don't.
Yeah, Gus
he tries
Gus
to make too much of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't care.
Remember when John Hull made the field goal against Ohio State? Ha ha!
Yeah, I don't know. And his continual playing for the money. It's like, yeah, there's a little bit of playing for them. I get that, but
in their defense, the Crown was a better tournament to watch than the NIT, which became a mid-major thing.
Well, and the funny thing is you look at the ratings for the championship game.
Well, Nebraska fans will watch.
I get it, but you look at the ratings for the championship game, Nebraska in the Crown, right, versus the NCAA Women's National Championship game, where Gino Auriemma won his 412th national title with UConn, and it wasn't even close. Like, Nebraska drew way more viewers. So speaking of Nebraska basketball, portal is open. Gavin Griffiths and Nick Janowski are out. And in are Kendall Blue, Will Cooper, Jamarcus Lawrence. Yes, that Jamarcus Lawrence. And Price Sanford from Iowa. Lawrence transferred to Rhode Island after the 23 season, played last year at Rhode Island. Will Cooper was at Air Force. Kendall Blue was at St. Thomas. And one of the best names ever from Central Michigan. He was the MAC Player of the Year.
Don't hurt yourself.
Ugnis Yarushevicius.
Watch yourself. You can't say that on the air.
Yeah, Ugnis Yarushevicius, 6'10", 220, was the MAC Player of the Year. Watch some film on him. The Big Ten is a beast he has never seen.
We say that
We'll
a lot,
see.
but how many mid-major guys are going to major programs right now?
Oh, I get it.
It's happening throughout college football and basketball. It's happening everywhere.
Well, and Nebraska's best player this season, obviously,
Bryce Williams.
comes
Obviously,
from Charlotte.
Jawan came from Alabama.
Yeah,
but he didn't play a lot.
Yeah, and Rink came from Bradley.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Bryce convinced me of it. I mean, he came from Charlotte, and I wondered how it would translate. What did he average? 14 a game, 17, something like that. 14, 15, 16 points a game at Charlotte. And I wondered, how is that going to translate to the Big Ten? It translated pretty well, to the point where I think Bryce is an NBA player. I think some people still have to be. I think he is.
I hope he is. I hope he winds up playing 10 years in the league, man.
And Gus said this about 100 times, and the guys that he broadcasted with said it as well. He's a 4-level scorer. He's a 3-point shooter. He's got a great mid-range game. But we don't talk about how he can get to the free throw line enough. I just think he is the best player Nebraska has had in 20 years. And I think the reason people say that he's not an NBA player is because of his lack of athleticism. But he's such a good shooter. He knows how to get fouled. He knows how to shoot in the mid-range. He can handle the ball. He can play the 1, 2, or 3. the NBA loves guys like Bryce Williams. I don't think he's going right to the NBA, but I do think he'll be in the G League for a while, and then you'll see him in the NBA.
I hope so. I mean, he's one of the best guys you'd ever want to be around. And, it's not often you get somebody with his ability to be a locker room guy as well. And I really get the feeling that he's a great locker room guy and a great teammate, as well as just flat out being really stinking good at basketball. So, Rory's up by 1. He missed the eagle putt on 15, tapped in for birdie, but he sits now at 11 under, a 1-shot lead on Justin Rose, as Rose, I believe, is playing 16 now.
So Rory
No, Rose is on 18.
All right. Rory has to play 18, which is trouble for everybody. 17's not easy either. Once he gets past 16, and I expect him to probably par that, but if he birdies 16, I think he's the winner. If he pars 16, he's got to go through 17 and 18, and then I'm looking for a playoff.
They talk about great back nines of Masters champions. If Rory wins this will go down as the worst back nine of a Masters champion, as far as especially consistency.
Greg Norman.
I'm talking as far as consistency. Yeah.
Of course, he never won the Masters. He had a lot of opportunities. Should have won the Masters probably 5 times.
Right now, Rory's back nine: birdie, bogey, par, double bogey, bogey, birdie.
But he is only 1 over. I mean, he started at 12. He's at 11, right?
Yeah.
Rory's one of those
2 doubles
weird guys.
on the day.
He's such a great driver of the golf ball, and he has the ability to hit out of trouble, which he's shown all day, that sometimes a bogey turns into a birdie because he's just so good at hitting the golf ball, and he's the best driver of the golf ball of all time. Here's 16, his shot on 16. Is that close? That's going to be close.
Just on the fringe. Is going to come back
down. It's going to come back down. He's going to have a 10-footer.
I'll be honest. I would make that putt at least 2 out of 10 times.
You're a pretty good putter. I think you would make that putt 4 out of 10 times.
I'd take that.
We were told that a hard cap of 105 on the roster limits would start this season in college football, but it might have to wait at least one more season. The settlement in the case of the House versus the NCAA is expected to go through. However, the judge, Claudia Wilkin, says she is not so sure about implementing drastic hard caps on roster sizes. The 105-man roster limit was supposed to go into effect starting in July. Instead, Wilkin suggests possibly grandfathering in current student athletes and not making them part of the 105. So they're on the team, but they're not part of the 105. They're grandfathered in. Nebraska has 20 to 25 of such players that could verge into being cut loose. In fact, Rule's been talking about this for 2 years, knowing it was coming. All of college football knew this was coming. They were planning for the 105, telling, hey, I love you, love to have you, but we got to get rid of you. And they recruited like they knew this was going to happen. They've taken far less walk-ons now from Nebraska. They've taken far less. They've offered 3 kids from Nebraska. That's unusual for Rule.
Well, and that's the thing. The 2026 class for high school football in the state of Nebraska, I don't know if it's like the most down year of D1 recruits in the
5
history.
have already committed to Iowa State. So
that's what I mean.
There's good players here.
I don't disagree, but I find it hard to believe that they've only offered 3 so far if it's not a little bit of a down year.
Well, also they were planning, because they offered so many in year 1 and 2, they were planning, and then they realized, oh, we got to get down again. We got to cut 20 to 25 guys. We can't be offering a lot of guys if we're cutting guys. And now what do? It would be nice if the walk-on program is not completely dead, because we thought it was completely dead for Nebraska football. And if Rule has said this, and I'll play some of the bites a little bit later on when we do the cuts from Rule and Dana Holgerson. They both have interesting things. In fact, let's just play it, because he talks about players leaving for the portal. But first of all, he talked about grandfathering and players and where this might go. This is Matt Rule talking to the media yesterday after practice.
I don't think there's anything wrong with giving kids money to go to college, paying for kids to go to college, right? Like, so like putting guys on scholarship. I mean, there's gonna be enough players to go around. So I don't have those major concerns. And I think as we've moved forward and we've learned more about what the house settlement could be, again, I don't know what it is, what it could be. I think, the concerns about people just putting everyone on scholarship and hoarding players in the old days, the 70s of 150 scholarship or something that's kind of going away. So I'll wait and see what happens. We have a lot of smaller colleges coming to our practices, and I think they're hopefully they're coming to watch the way we practice. I think they're also going to keep an eye on the roster, and if there's guys moving on. Been really pleased with some of our guys that moved on in the winter. Was hated to see them go, but man, I was fired up when Mason Jones got a scholarship to go to Lindenwood. Just the strain that removes from his family. Or the guys from Kearney were here the other day and hearing that Riker Evans is doing so well, or Devon Hall's doing so well. So, I want the guys to be somewhere in school, playing football, happy.
I know a lot of the coaches are just saying, I wish they would just make a decision so we could make our decisions and know what to tell the players. Dana Holgerson had kind of a funny response when was told that the portal opens on Wednesday.
The portal window opening next week.
Is it? Gee, you trying to put me in a bad mood or what?
I was happy just out there coaching ball, not having to worry about all that stuff, I mean, you got bad news? What do you got?
Just based on what you've seen this spring, how active a stretch or how important a stretch do you expect that to be?
I don't have a clue what that's going to look like. I mean, we have so many kids getting so many reps. Nobody's complaining. Everybody's giving effort. Everybody's got opportunities to play. Everybody's got opportunities to show us what they got. I mean, if I was anybody on this football team, there would not be anything that I would be upset about, because you're repping. The way that they're treated here is unreal compared to what I've been used to. I think you could ask Isaiah when he comes up here, like how we're treated here compared to how we're treated, like how others are able to do things for these young men. So, Nebraska's a great place with unreal resources, and these kids, if they choose to, they can benefit from this every day.
And, we've had a few players leave because you think maybe, I'm making a couple $100,000 at Nebraska. Maybe I can make $500,000 elsewhere. Dante Dell saw that maybe he could make a little more money at Kentucky. I don't think he really wanted to leave from what I've heard.
Makai Bayer thought Missouri was going to be a great place to be.
That's right.
Evidently it's not.
He's already back in the portal.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if Nebraska would ever reach out on somebody like Makai Bayer. I don't know
if there's not bad blood from the way he left. I mean, if you're, you and I do not know Matt Rule personally. We do not know anybody on the staff personally. No. But based on what we have seen and heard from Matt Rule since he's been here, I think if Makai Bayer walked in and said, "Coach, I'm going to head to Missouri, or I'm going to head to the portal. I appreciate everything you've done, but I think there's something better for me out there." I don't think Rule's going to have a problem bringing him back if he wanted to come back.
Well, a lot of these players,
if it was a double bird and see ya,
I don't think that's going to happen. In fact, Rule made that point this week. Hey, I've left for other coaching jobs. I left. Yeah. Players should be allowed to leave. I left for Temple. Yeah. I left for Baylor. So I have no problem that players leave. I would just like to know that we're all playing by the same rules. I think that's what frustrates coaches. They don't know what the rules are because it seems like they change week to week, day to day, hour to hour. All right, Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7. We'll talk to Mike about these things and other things next. Husker Rewind. Mike Melby, Tom Stevens. More on the way.
Hi, this is Amy Graham, General Manager of Broadcast House. Whether it's filling an event, creating a line at the door, or getting a business phone to ring, we love hearing about the cool outcomes our advertisers receive from the radio campaigns. We thank our KLIN advertisers for their partnership. Please continue to support them often. In turn, you're also supporting local live personalities and content. We love bringing shoppers and local businesses together. Let us help showcase your business. Visit broadcasthouse.com.
Judge Napolitano here. Can you believe the chaos we're facing today? Government is out of control. Spending is out of control, and the dollar is dying. It's just a matter of time until digital money replaces cash. It's coming fast. So you need to get educated in other ways to invest and preserve the wealth you already have. Start now by calling Lear Capital at 800-927-2400. Get their free report, The Tipping Point. Learn what rising debt and a digital dollar could mean for your retirement. Do what I did. Buy gold from Lear Capital to protect your wealth. Over 25 years experience, thousands of 5-star reviews, and a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. Lear is whom I trust when I buy gold. Get the report and up to $15,000 in bonus gold with a qualifying purchase. Call 800-927-2400. That's 800-927-2400. 800-927-2400.
Morning, Paula.
Morning, Ron.
Another day in Adminville, am I right?
What are you working on? Oh,
You okay?
your tabs. You have so many open.
Yeah, gotta order lunch for the big client meeting. With great responsibility comes tabs.
I can help. Close all those tabs and open just one, easycater.com. Online ordering from local restaurants, plus tools to save time, stay on budget, track expenses.
One tab to rule them all.
EasyCater, the smarter way to order food for work. Order now at easycater.com.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player and proud supporter of the Muscular Dystrophy Association. My mom was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy when I was 14, and I watched her struggle. But MDA helped her get the best treatments and care, and they also help kids like my buddy Ethan.
My name is Ethan, and I'm 12 years old. Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association and people like you, I have more hope than ever before. From day one, they've treated me like family at my local care center. AMDA is the only one that funds over 150 care centers across the U.S. to help provide state-of-the-art care for adults and kids like me.
For over 70 years, MDA has been transforming the lives of people living with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and other related neuromuscular diseases. They fund the research for breakthrough treatments, care, and cures. And MDA provides support to thousands of families like mine and Ethan's in communities like yours. Thanks to MDA, kids and adults can live life to its fullest. Join us and learn more at mda.org today.
It's your weekly rundown of Husker sports with Mike Melby and Tom Stevens.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
On 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back, Husker Rewind. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby. And Mike Schaefer's mad that I'm calling him right now because he was watching the Masters. He was enjoying an adult beverage. He was coasting with Rory to the win, and now Rory's probably going to give away his career slam. Are you sad right now?
Oh, well, I very much want Rory to win relative to the other options that are atop the board here. It's really him or Rose, it feels like at this point. There's a moment there where it felt like Bryson could have pulled himself back in, but dumping it into the drink there saved us from that nightmare as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely.
I wanted him to win the career slam. He hasn't won since the age of 25. He's now 35, a major.
No, and the thing is, there's so many of these Sundays where he's been out of it, and then he just puts up like an incredible number to finish with a top 5 finish, or there's the ones where he's coming in either right off the lead or tied for the lead, and he doesn't do anything with it and watches someone have a career day. I'm a Rory guy, and it's been pretty wild. I mean, I can go back through them. You have several at the Masters. You got the British Open where Cam Smith is able to walk away with it, and it felt like Rory was right there for having the chance of winning that day. And so it's just been pretty wild.
I think he tucks this in within 3 feet and walks away. He wins the Masters. He likes to be dramatic. He likes to lose dramatically and win dramatically. I think he's.
I know this. My company of Paramount/CBS is fired up about this drama that we have here. So it went from a snooze fest to everyone having to lock in.
Yep, there you go. I want to get to this because the big thing this week that a lot of people are talking about, the House versus the NCAA, and what it might mean for Nebraska. Of course, we all thought that roster limits were going to be down to 105 this year. Now the judge is saying maybe not so, that we can grandfather players that are currently on the roster into the roster. How do you feel about all this and where it's going?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would be really frustrated if I was involved as a coach, as an administrator, as an athlete, as a prospective student athlete. This is a mess. This is making up the rules as the game is going on, and the issue here is the same as the last time we really talked about this. I mean, you get the court systems involved, you're left up to the opinion of a judge who may or may not have any real stake or understanding of how any of this works. And
Rory just hit it
here
within
we are
3
again.
feet. Sorry, Rory just hit it within 3 feet.
You did call that.
I
gotta
called
give
that.
credit.
There you go.
You did call that.
All right, go ahead.
But no, I mean, it's a situation where I think everyone involved or has skin in the game just wants to know what the rules are. And if you're Nebraska, yeah, you might be able to keep 130, 135 people this year, but do you really want to? Because I guess my thing is they need to build this so it's sustainable for the future. And even if you're going to grandfather some people in, maybe you just get it down to 115 or 110. And so there's still some people who are going to be better off moving on. Their football opportunity is going to be somewhere else. You're going to be better off moving on because you need to set yourself up for what the reality is. And it's going to get to 105. I think that's likely where it's going to land here, whether it's this year, next year, 2 years from now. They want that number down because not everyone is Nebraska. Not everyone has been carrying 140 players for the last decade. So it's a situation where I think it would behoove Nebraska to at least get closer to that number, and whether that's 115, 110, whatever it is, at least you're around that. And so then you know what that feels like. You know what you're working towards there. And then there's still a lot of other things that have to be figured out with the settlement. I know Rule spoke about this a couple times last month in March, and I think he just wants to know what the rules are, because right now their recruiting in 2026 is relatively slow because I don't think they want to overpromise and underdeliver. I think they're trying to take advantage of teams that will overpromise and underdeliver. And Nebraska is basically just saying, hey, we're trying to be as flexible as possible. We're very interested in you. We cannot promise any sums of money right now until we know what this looks like and we can take care of the guys on our roster. But we are very, that's how they have to play this. And that's kind of the reality of the situation for Nebraska at the moment.
Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7 joining us here on Husker Rewind. Question for you, and it's going to be very specific on one single player. Is Mekhi Bayer going to be part of the 105, 115, or whatever it winds up with next year?
Yeah, well, we'll see how that one plays out. I took a siesta this weekend to go up to Sioux Falls for a wedding. And so I have kind of checked out, at least in terms of the day-to-day news. I'm more familiar with Nebraska having a few visitors on campus than I am in terms of Mekhi Bayer, but I did see him go back into the portal. I also know that Matt Rule has generally been someone that if you go in, actually physically go into the portal and you leave, not an Emmett Johnson situation where it's what you intended to do and then they were able to talk you out of it. I think they made the decision to bring in a Watson Trent because they didn't have Mekhi Bayer. And I think they have a Vincent Shavers and brought back a Javen Wright and have their own thoughts on what this thing could look like. So I don't know that it's a guarantee, but I also know that that's a guy that they have invested time in and they think highly of. And at the end of the day, you want your best roster out there. So we'll see how it all comes together. I don't know enough about it to speak accurately, I think, as to what's going to happen. From historic trends, Nebraska isn't necessarily a team that is going to let someone go into the portal, then bring them back, and then pay them on top of it, too.
There have been a lot of comments from the coaches. Well, why would you leave Nebraska this week? Holgerson mentioned that. Rule did as well. We have the best resources. Just stay here and get better. But with that in mind, the portal opens on Wednesday. Should Nebraska be at all concerned?
There's going to be people that are going to go in. I mean, they have too many defensive backs as it is. I think when we were over there for open practice, Addison Williams was working with a group of 18. There was 6 others that are freshmen or sophomores that were working with Phil Snow. And he was going through sort of just a development boot camp for guys. So they build them up in the way that they want them to be able to play. So with all of those defensive backs, that you're not going to get that many people on the field. And so I'm curious as anyone as to who's looking at this and doesn't think that they have an opportunity. And it may not be the younger guys. There might be some older guys who get supplanted or have been supplanted with a new staff and on the defensive back end than what you might have guessed. We'll put it this way. There are very few names that would surprise me from the secondary if someone were to end up in the portal. They won't all, but there's just not enough playing time. And so, I don't think a Deshaun Singleton's going in because he got his extra year of eligibility and he wanted to come back to Nebraska, and I think they have a path for him. But are there other veterans or other guys who have played a little bit that might end up in there, or people who came to Nebraska thinking that their role was going to be X and it turned out to be Y? So I think it's going to be a pretty interesting week all in all. And again, some of that is they got to get down to that number anyways. And I'm not expecting any massive news to come out of this, but we'll see how it all plays out.
Mike, what are your thoughts on the running back room? You've got Emmett Johnson and the very much talked about by the staff, Quentin Ives, very little production on the field, but not any real experience behind it. What do you think going into the last few spring practices, and how do you think that's going to shape up once the season rolls around?
Yeah, it's really funny because I have been someone for the last 10 years that has been beating the drum of the running back room isn't good enough. The expectation at Nebraska as a guy who plays running back here is a potential college football star, because that's what I grew up with. That's what I covered early in my career, certainly with Rex Burkhead, Roy Halou, and Amir Abdullah. And then we've seen what it's been over these last 10 years, and you'll have an off year, or you'll have a year every now and then where Divino Zigbo has a good year, or Dedrick Mills, I think, was someone that was underutilized in his time here and could have been a better college football player. But then there's also people that emerge every year too. And Emmett Johnson has been one of those guys. I think he's going to be a big piece of Nebraska football in 2025, but they need him to stay healthy because, as you said yourself, there's not a lot of proven options. Good Lord. Can't talk today. Not a lot of proven options behind him. Mekhi Nelson is someone, though, that has been very interesting to me. I've heard through back channels, I've heard from the coaching staff now. This is a guy that's having a really nice camp. He's someone who has run inside zone very well. He's made people miss. He has a good feel for how to get into the second level and how to get yards. And so that's someone that, if you combine that with the talk that they have had about utilizing running backs more out of the backfield as pass catchers, I think there's a way that he could be, and I don't want to overstep with this, he could replace Ramir Johnson. And I think the production could be similar. I don't know that he has the straight line speed of Ramir Johnson, but I think that's the type of player that Mekhi Nelson could be. And Ramir was pretty valuable for spurts of seasons for Nebraska. If you go back to 2021, he was one of the best players on the field when they played a Michigan team that went on to play for a national title and was in the college football playoff for 2 years. And, Ramir Johnson was really, really good that night. And I think that's the sort of upside that Mekhi Nelson has.
Well, Rory needs a par on 18 to win the Masters. I thought that was, for some reason, 18 that he had hit close on. That was 17. He took the lead on 17. Within 3 feet, he taps that in. He now has the lead going to 18. So this is going to be a dramatic conclusion. Rule, staying with running backs, maybe. Rule mentioned that they probably won't take anybody out of the portal unless they're a difference maker. If a running back pops up, would that be the position for you, or what other position?
No.
Okay.
I think for me, if there's a true difference maker, it's, again, you're looking on your defensive line. I think if they could grab another veteran offensive lineman, I think they do it. But I think they've had a good camp on their offensive line. I think some of that, though, is what do you have on your defensive line? And you've got a lot of young guys that are learning to play football at a high level over there. And you got offensive linemen maybe taking advantage of that. So I think if there was a position where Mike Schaefer, was picking out, hey, Nebraska can add here, I'm comfortable with Emmett Johnson. I'm comfortable that there's guys behind him that can be productive. I'm comfortable that Nebraska's offense can have success even if the running back position isn't outstanding. I think that they have to have good defensive line play. And I think they're going to, but if you can add to that, if you can go get a difference maker as an edge or as a defensive lineman, you're really going to want to go do it.
Mike, do you wish that you would get kind of not necessarily overly reassigned, completely reassigned, but that you get more Nebraska basketball assignments simply so you can cover Ugnis Yarushevicius? I'm just curious. Oogie Yarushevicius.
Because I am not going to try that name, and it would go so poorly coming off of my tongue. You've done a very nice job with it.
I'm not sure he did it correctly.
I had Eli Vlasavovich that I learned how to pronounce his name. So
Jim Rose told me years ago, if you're going to mispronounce a name, do it confidently.
Oh, yeah.
Say it the same way every time. Even if it's incorrect.
I am more than happy to let Brian Christopherson handle the bulk of our basketball coverage, so I can be a Yahoo in Section 111 most nights when they're playing at home. So I'm good with that. But I'm pretty intrigued by what Fred has done here in terms of some of the shooters that he's added out of the portal. I think he is once again changing the picture of what our expectation of Nebraska basketball could look like, because this is going to be a very different team than the Bryce team the past year, or even the team that went to the tournament the year before, because there's a chance that you have Mask out there playing point center with a bunch of shooters around him, and Nebraska playing in a very different style. I still worry that they give up too much athletically relative to a conference that they play in. I worry that they maybe don't have a rim protector, but I don't think they're done yet. But I've liked what they've done. My Summit sources are very high on Kendall Blue, so I'm intrigued by that one.
Nice.
We know what Bryce Stanford can do, but I'm pretty excited to see what he puts together here.
I told Mike before the tournament started, I told Mike Melby that you cannot hang a banner, but I would be intrigued by hanging the crown from the rafters. What about that?
I want him to lean all the way into it. I tweeted this after Nebraska won. I think that you should have, Elvis music for the opening game. There should be giveaway crowns that people can wear on opening night. I think the coaching staff should coach in robes. I think, you refer to it as the King's Court. D. Wayne is in a jester outfit. Like,
I love it.
Let's get creative with this. Just own it. Like, part of it to me is people want to mock this and don't want to consider it an accomplishment. Fine, whatever. Nebraska played in a tournament. They won it. They got to send out their seniors the best way that they possibly could. That wasn't the NCAA tournament. I enjoyed it. I really did. And I think the numbers, the ratings were pretty solid. And I know people that have no interest in Nebraska basketball, don't live in the state, love college basketball. And they're like, yeah, I want to watch that. I mean, it's a nice little precursor for the championship game that's coming. I mean,
I didn't want any part of it, and I told Mike Melby that. But then, I after it was all over, it became a commercial for Nebraska basketball. I thought, it was almost better than maybe winning a game in the NCAA tournament, and nobody remembers it. But now you're able to kind of sell it and put together a recruiting class.
Yeah, I don't know that I would go as far as what you said.
Nobody would. No,
I'll still take the tournament win. But in terms of creating something that you can sell to people that were in the transfer portal, or even just show them, like, this is what Nebraska basketball looks like. These are people that really care about basketball. This is an environment that you can come to. And then even just getting to hear from Jawan and Bryce afterwards about what it meant to them to be able to finish their career this way, how much Nebraska basketball meant to them. I think those are selling points for the sport and for the team. There is such a thirst. And it's not just to get this first tournament win. It's because I think people love college basketball in Nebraska, and they want to be good. They want to be competitive. Like that building, say what you will about Memorial Stadium, and I used to think Haymarket was the spot to be when things were rocking. Right now, there is no better venue and no better team to watch when a big team is at home and there's an upset brewing than Nebraska basketball at PBA. I mean, it's its own life. And if they can feed into that, if they can build off of that, if the Crown can be a part of this, and I get people don't want to accept that these wins count. They don't want to pretend like Fred Hoiberg accomplished anything. Nebraska has 2 seasons of back-to-back 20 wins in the last 27 years, going back to Danny Nee. No coach has accomplished that. You go look at the strength of schedule of what Nebraska played this year, and the Crown adds to that, and the Big Ten really adds to that. They had a solid year. It wasn't a great year. It wasn't what you wanted. But for a program that's short on history, it's hard for me to believe that they're not moving in the right direction. I understand the 5-game losing streak to end the year. I understand missing the tournament. I understand that Fred Hoiberg struggled at the beginning of the onset of his career at Nebraska. They're not bad. I think they're going in the right direction, and I'm excited to see where that is.
Just real quick, the championship game outdrew the NCAA championship game of women's basketball. So Gino's 97th title, there were more viewers for Nebraska winning the crown. So that, I mean, you said that the ratings were pretty good. Just there you go. There you go. One quick question before we let you go about the quarterback room. Are you comfortable with Jalen Grandstad as the backup?
No, but I mean, I have never watched him play. I've watched highlights of him. I watched him at the camp in which, he was interesting enough that I think there was literal peer pressure on Matt Rule to offer him a spot for the team. Am I comfortable if he has to be the starting quarterback for a few weeks? No. But am I going to be comfortable of anybody in that situation for a team that's built around Dylan Raiola? Also no. So I guess the real answer there is if it's not Dylan Raiola, there's bigger problems than just Jalen Grandstad. And that's not to take anything away from him. It's a great story. And he could be a really interesting backup option. I just can't believe in it, but it's not him. It's just Nebraska needs to win at a high level, and they need Dylan to be able to do that.
Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7, always great stuff. Rory's in the fairway on 18. I can't tell. Is he going to have to stand in the sand? It almost looks. You can't never tell by the TV.
I think he's got.
I think he's okay. So part one of 18 is accomplished. It looks like he could do this. He's going to do this. So
yeah, well, he had to wait a long time for a couple guys to finish in front of him as the meltdowns were ensuing there.
Yeah, and he's a fast player. I mean, Bryson likes to go really slow, but Rory really likes to go quickly. So I think that was part of the reason that he was so up and down today. But that's the Masters for you. It's gamesmanship.
No doubt about it.
Great
Tom,
stuff.
This is great. This worked out fantastic.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think we're the reason that he won for you. So give us credit. There you go.
I will absolutely give you credit.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks,
we'll talk
Mike.
to you soon.
See you guys.
There's Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7. A lot of stuff from Matt Rule after practice.
The meltdown he's talking about, Ludwig Oberg. He looked like me trying to play out of the sand trap. One sand trap to another sand trap to over the green to 40 feet past the hole. And then he did manage to 2-putt, not 3-putt like I would. But, yeah, total meltdown on 18 for him.
I always hate that when the guys are in the money and then they lose $1 million on one hole.
Yeah, he probably did.
Yeah. All right. More on the way. Husker Rewind, Mike Melby, Tom Stevens.
I got to get on board.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Where the search ends for that very special gift at Elder Jewelry. Small treasures express volumes of love. Elder Jewelry has the best prices on natural earth mined and lab-grown diamonds. Both are stunningly beautiful and of the highest quality. It's an investment of beauty. Elder Jewelry has the gifts that express what your love wants to say. Elder Jewelry. Shop the rest, then come to the best at 29th and Pine Lake Road.
Elder Jewelry. Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. I don't know if you've noticed, but we got a lot of food in this country. A lot of peaches, a lot of corn, a lot of apples, a lot of everything. We've got so much food that we can't even eat it all. So if we got all this extra food, how are 17 million kids in America struggling with hunger? I just don't get it. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gathers surplus food and gets it to the hungry kids who need it. They can get you food even if you live in Idaho or Alaska or somewhere crazy like that. This isn't complicated. We got extra food and we've got hungry kids. Feeding America's done the math. Now it's your turn. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. I know you got internet on your phone, so what are you waiting for? We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Back to Husker Rewind with Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
They're storming the floor. Tim Miles has punched our ticket, Husker fans. It's time to twerk. Let's go dancing.
On 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back. Hour number 2. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby. As we know, Nebraska always wins the offseason. But it feels like, I know, here I go. It feels like there is something brewing this year. And I know people are going to say, I'll wait until I see the actual games. I don't need to hear it from you knuckleheads. But these are the thoughts from Matt Rule following the scrimmage on Saturday.
Procedural penalties and some things like that early, and then they kind of regrouped and then had some really nice things. I thought early on defensively we were overrunning some tackles. We weren't tracking the near hip, and Heinrich caught a ball on the left sideline, made a guy miss, and went for another 20 yards. And then they started to tackle better. I think the biggest thing is we look like a really physical team. We're blocking, we're tackling, we don't look soft. And while there might be a drop off sometimes as you get down the line, there's not really a drop off to me when I'm just watching it out there between so and so and so and so. If that makes sense, like there's a lot of guys you can put out there, and it looks like we're covering people. It looks like we're out there and we're covering people. There's not a lot of guys running wide open in the drop back passing game. So again, there's a lot to watch, but I liked all those things. And then at the end, all the situational stuff, the guys are understanding it. I don't have to explain it time and time again. I did some situations today I haven't even covered with the guys, but there's recall from last year or the guys who really watch a lot of football.
One of the things that he does say time and time again is I've done less coaching this year than I have in previous years. I like my coaches. I go out there. Mike Eckler's doing his thing. I don't feel like I need to add to anything. Or Phil Snow's out there, or whoever. Dana Holgerson. I'm not gonna take charge of one of Dana's meetings. I trust that guy. So I think he's told Mike Eckler last week, I feel kind of lonely, like I'm not needed as much this year. And that's year number 3 of Rule. I mean, he's always been good in year number 3. We'll see if it actually pans out this particular year. One of the big concerns, I think, for a lot of Husker fans is tackle. The new left tackle for Nebraska is Elijah Pritchard, the transfer from Alabama. This is what Rule had to say about him.
He's got all the talent in the world, but he was in the hot tub like last week, and I walked by and I started talking to him. I said, "How you doing?" For him, it's like coach, this moves a lot. You don't take it for granted, right? He's from down there. He goes to Alabama for several years, right? And all of a sudden now he's here for his last year, and while he's happy and having a great time and learning and all those different things, it's still a lot, right? So, as I said to him, well, you're going to play 12 years in the NFL, and you'll probably be living at some point in your career, you'll probably be living in like Vegas on Monday, and you'll be playing in Atlanta on Wednesday, and you're just gonna have to figure it out. So this is good practice for him. So, he's got a long way to go in terms of like continue to learn our stuff, but he's really willing, he's eager, he puts the work in. He's been a great kid. He's doing his work in school. So I've been pleased.
That's Matt Rule talking about Elijah Pritchett, the transfer from Alabama. Bo used to say about a lot of young players, he's swimming in it. So Pritchett's probably swimming in it.
Probably.
Right.
Quick score update from Northwestern, from wherever they play softball at the University of Northwestern. Nebraska up 6-1, top of the 5th.
All right. Nebraska softball is pretty good. I don't know if you've heard, but they're really pretty good.
30-10.
Matt Rule, this is on Grant Segrin and the offensive tackles in general, the offensive line in general, and how impressed he is with the offensive line.
Grant Seagren, as soon as Grant decides that he's a scholarship player, he's going to be something else. Now, he was 230-pound tight end wherever he was. He's now 315. He's in the rake school, which means he's an elite student. He leaves all the time. He has to leave this meeting to go to class, that meeting to go to class. He makes it up. He's got all the talent to be a starter. He just has to, in his mind, say, I'm a starting left tackle. Not, I walked on or whatever. Like, forget all the walk-on stuff. That's in your own head. He's a big-time player in my mind. So, we've got 4 guys standing over there with the O-line who started a lot of games, and Henry, Gunner, Teddy, and Turner. But those other guys, man, they're doing a great job. Grant Brick's doing a really nice job. Knudsen, Brock's doing a great job. Preston plays guard, goes out and kicks out and plays tackle. So a lot of versatility at the tackle position right now.
I think that was the big concern maybe in the offseason, getting an offensive tackle. And they got out and they got Pritchett, and they paid him a lot of money. I don't know how much, a lot of money to come from Alabama to be their left tackle. But they've got some other options. Maybe Seagren's one of them. I don't know.
That comment, as soon as he figures out he's a scholarship player, that was the conversation's been had behind closed doors. I'm sure that was that one of those call outs that, when he communicates to the players through the media, if you ever wonder what we talk about when we say that's what he's doing, that right there was him telling Grant Seagren, dude, go do it. Like you have every ability, just as much as you do in the classroom, you have it on the football field. How many times did you have this putt in your brain?
Here he is.
6 feet to win the Masters.
Here he is.
Rory McIlroy is not Masters champion.
That was up for par.
That was for par.
Oh no, I thought that was for.
You said you wanted extra holes. You got it.
Rory. Doesn't that define Rory's career?
Yep.
The 5-footer, the 3-footer. And sometimes it's just careless. That didn't look careless. That looked like a misread.
Honest to God truth, I know exactly what that was. That was a flat dead pull.
Does it remind you a little bit of Pinehurst number 2 when he lost? He lost to Bryson last year in the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
And he had a putt similar to that to win it. But probably from 3 feet and missed it.
At what point, from the standpoint of like that specific putt, this is where the Happy Gilmore fan in me wants him to just launch his putter. I mean, seriously, just middle of the fairway, not into the crowd, but launch it.
That's
back
what
up the
I would have
fairway
done.
on
You
18,
played with me.
or break it. True. Yeah.
You played with me when I've launched a putter or broke a 7-iron or something like that. Did it lead to better golf?
I don't know. I was always so entertained by the antics. And you're the roughest person on 7-irons in the history of people who have played golf.
I've broken a few.
Since I've known you, I think you have broken or lost in excess of a dozen 7-irons.
Easily. There are a few clubs. I don't know if any of them were 7-irons, probably a few, that were left on, was it the 15th tree at Woodland Hills during Golf League?
Really?
I remember throwing them into the tree. I threw a club into the tree and it stuck. So what do? You take another club and throw it into the tree to try to get that one down.
And it gets stuck?
And it got stuck. I think I had 7 clubs in the tree before they all came down.
Nice.
Nice. Where were we? We were with Rory, and it's going to be a playoff. And this is perfect in some ways, because it gives us a few more minutes to prepare for Jim White, who's a Nebraska Hall of Fame golfer. He's in the Nebraska Hall of Fame. He's played in 21 tour events, I believe, either senior or the regular tour. Probably the best golfer in the history of Nebraska golf. I love listening to him when we talk to him. He'll have so many thoughts. And one of the thoughts that I want from him is, what is it like? Because he's won many, many tournaments, not the Masters, of course. But what's it like to have that 5-foot putt to win a tournament, any tournament? Because it could be a Muni tournament. And I am shaking. You played high school golf. You were a very good high school golfer.
I'll be honest with you. I was clutch. I made a 35 or 40 footer to get us to state.
Yeah.
There was a 3-team playoff for districts for the final spot in state. Two teams go home and one goes to state. And I made about a 35-footer on the first playoff hole to put us into state. And it just, I don't know, man. I like those situations.
It doesn't matter how much money you have. And Rory has all the money that he could ever spend in 3 lifetimes. You think about that. I guarantee you, even if he wins, there's going to be a moment where he rolls over and goes, damn, why didn't I make that putt? That would have been so much cooler to go out that way. I should have made that putt. As golfers, that's the way we think. Now, I'm kind of rooting for him to come back. And because I don't really like Justin Rose anyway.
Yeah.
But I'll take Rory over Justin Rose. But you are right about this. I root for overtime. If I'm watching any game, I'm a fan when I first tune in, and then I switch my allegiances to the team that is behind because I want to see more football or more basketball or more golf. And we're going to get to see that. We talked about this with Mike Schaefer. We'll get to some more of the comments from Matt Rule and Dana Holgerson in hour number 2. Hopefully we'll get to that because Holgerson had some interesting comments about the offensive line. I'll save most of the Holgerson comments for this hour number 2, but we were talking about the offensive line. So before we go to break, this is Holgerson talking about Justin Evans.
The snaps need to improve a little bit, which is, not surprising because you've been playing guard, right? But very happy with his mentality. He's taken over a leadership role. When I was here for the 2 months last year, I don't think he said one word. Like I never heard him talk in the huddle. I never heard him. I mean, he played well. He was physical, but now he's kind of coming out of that. He's always been kind of an undersized overachiever, and I'm like, you got to get that mindset out of your head. I mean, you are a dude.
You're a dude. He thinks he's going to be really good as any college center this year. So that's good to hear. Hour number 2, Jim White, the golf pro at the fairways of Lincoln, coming up next.
For over 80 years, Farm Bureau Financial Services has been protecting farmers and ranchers season after season.
You need to know you're covered and you've got somebody covering your back.
You've got local people that everybody knows.
And we have a good policy and a good agent, and I guess that's what you need to be able to sleep at night.
Loyal, local, and rooted in ag for over 80 years. Learn more at fbfs.com/rootedinag. It's your future. Let's protect it.
Whether fishing is your passion or your way of achieving zen, getting away to Ballard's Resorts at the Lake of the Woods for the Walleye Connection 2025 is a chance to create unforgettable memories. Expert guides lead you to the best spots and the biggest fish on a 27-foot sports craft. Cabins are fully accommodated with generous meals. Luxury coaches will drive you to Minnesota and back. It's happening July 13th through 17th at Ballard's Resort on the Lake of the Woods. Get details at klin.com.
If you're like me, you've got a bunch of shoes in your closet you never wear. So why not give them away to help someone get back on their feet? I'm Sherry Tafoya, and every April, Cornhusker Bank encourages all of us to donate our new or gently used shoes. This year, Custom Blinds and Design is helping out. Just bring your shoes to one of our galleries in either Omaha or Lincoln. We're collecting shoes over the next couple of weeks, and then we'll take them to Cornhusker Bank to help provide shoes to those who need them. Thanks in advance from all of us at Custom Blinds and Design, taking care of precious feet.
I perform for our high school choir director, who taught me to breathe from the diaphragm and sing from the heart.
Speech, debate, theater, music. The performing arts teach valuable life lessons that typically aren't taught in the classroom. They help high school students learn leadership skills that prepare them to enjoy more satisfying, productive lives.
Hey, I've got a question for you. Who will you perform for?
This message presented by the Nebraska School Activities Association and the high school in your community.
From the Momo Pizzeria and Ristorante Studios, we are the voice of Lincoln. KLIN Lincoln. KDBK HD3 Lincoln. K257GN Lincoln is 1499.3 KLIN. Welcome to the best recap of Husker sports. Husker Rewind with your hosts Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Welcome to the circus.
They'll hand it to him off the left side. Looking and pay dirt. Ramir Johnson, the local boy, the Harlan native, punches it in for Nebraska, and they strike first.
Here comes the serve. Straight ahead, past Schumacher. Set in the middle. Schmeck out of bounds. We're done. Huskers win. Golly, grandkids. Nebraska sweeps Wisconsin on the road, no less.
And for the first time in 41 years, Nebraska knocks off the top-ranked team in the country, and they are storming the floor. They are storming the floor. They are storming the floor. Love it. Sign your name, Fred Hoiberg. There's your signature win.
Line drive towards second. Caden Grumbaugh's there. He squeezes the line drive. And on a night filled with emotion, honoring our leader, Greg Sharp, with his eyes on the diamond and his hands on our shoulders, Nebraska takes down 16th ranked Vanderbilt 6-4. Sharpie, that one is for you.
Now, here's Tom Stevens and Mike Melby on 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Husker Rewind. I'm Mike Melby. That is Tom Stevens. And joining us on the Summit Lawns talk and text line, former Husker basketball player Bo Reed. Bo, one thing I've been thinking about, we've been having you on throughout the basketball season this year. You are the one person who hit the shot that started Nebraska basketball success like that we've seen and that we've only known in our lifetimes.
And the kind of the fandom.
Like your shot against Michigan State was the upset that made everybody go, holy crap, Nebraska has a basketball team. And granted, it's been a lean 20 years, but you were the one that made everybody realize Nebraska does have a hell of a basketball team. And we're back now to, a little bit of success at least. It's been kind of fun. So welcome in. I hope Cabo is treating you well.
Yeah, Cabo's treating us really well. I have to come home to reality tomorrow. But
what do you make of, because I'm sure you saw this stuff on Twitter, Nebraska wins the crown. Oh yeah, it means they're the 69th best team in the country, that type of thing. And you weren't on that team that won the NIT. And I know that team was a team that struggled, similar to Nebraska this year. They lost 10 of 11. This team lost 6 in a row, then got a winning streak going, lost 5 in a row. And they get it, it ends with a loss to Iowa, 5 in a row at the end of the season. You're thinking, this is just terrible. I don't know if we should play anywhere. But the way it turned out, it was awesome. And maybe it led to a pretty good, so far, portal class. But what are your thoughts on Nebraska playing in the crown and watching it, and your feelings during that time?
Well, I think it was a testament to the locker room that Fred created, that those kids wanted to play in that, and they played as hard as they did in that. I think the chemistry of that team, and without good leadership and good kids in that room, they don't want to play in that tournament, and they probably don't play that hard in that tournament. But I really do think that it can turn into some building blocks for the future. At least I hope it does.
What do you make of the portal class so far? There's 5 of them in there. I know one of the needs is shooters. They seem to have acquired a few. Who do you think is the best fit so far of the 5 that have said, yeah, I'm going to come play for Fred next year?
I like the Stanford kid the best. He bothered us all year. He makes really big shots, and, I like his length. So he's a prototypical, 6'8", Big Ten shooter. We haven't had one of those guys in a while that's like that size that is a really pure shooter. So I love that acquisition. I thought the kid from Rutgers was going to be that kid this year, but he just didn't pan out. But I like the Stanford acquisition. The other guys I just haven't heard a whole lot about or studied a whole bunch on, but I know Fred's pretty excited.
Some of the other guys, Kendall Blue from St. Thomas in Minnesota, considered a really good shooter, a 12-5 guy, was almost a 40% three-point shooter. They get, of course, Connor coming back next year. Jamarcus Lawrence returns from Rhode Island. What do you think about Jamarcus coming back? I mean, I think one of the draws is he was a 10-point-a-game guy, but he knows the offense and he can play point or the off position.
Well, I'm a little irritated that he left in the first place. That's the kid. If he stays, I think it changes the dynamic of our entire season. But you know, he's a good kid by all accounts, and sounds like we're excited to have him back. So hopefully he can be the spark we need at the point guard spot.
Fred has said that he doesn't think that he necessarily needs a point, that he kind of goes with the NBA philosophy that I like to have 5 ball handlers, that anybody can bring it up the court. They kind of did that this year. They did that a little bit last year because they never had a point, even though Jamarcus was that a little bit last year, but they really had success when Bryce took over his point. It's an NBA mentality. What do you think of that mentality?
You don't want to know what I think. How'd that work out for Duke when the pressure was on?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really physical Houston team. A point guard is the guy that makes you win, and when it comes to tournament times, it makes you win in close games, makes free throws, handles the ball. I thought Raleigh was going to be that guy when we won at home against UCLA, and then he just never really had any other games that were quite like that, where he handled the pressure down the stretch, made big free throws, and handled the ball without turning it over. I know Fred believes that, and you know, Fred obviously knows a lot more basketball than any of us, but I happen to think you need a point guard to win in the Big Ten consistently.
Well, and Tom and I had this discussion prior to going on the air today, and I said, you could say what you want about that, but at the end of the day, you need the guy that will not miss free throws, that can knock down the open three, and does not turn the ball over. And if you don't have that, then you don't have a point guard. Regardless of, you mentioned Duke. I wanted to ask your thoughts on the Final Four. It's 4 1 seeds that get there, all kinds of crying from numerous people about how unfair it was, and you know, it's changed the tournament, etc. It's 1 year. We'll see if it did. But what were your thoughts on the Final Four, the way the games played out? Did you enjoy them? Because they were great games.
They were great games. I don't like that style of basketball. I think it's ugly. I think it's, you know, I think they foul literally so much that the refs stopped calling it, and then it just became so physical. I mean, in the Duke game, when Houston was pressing at the end of the game, they literally had their arms wrapped around the guy's waist, preventing him from even trying to get open on that press. And I'm just like, wow, if that's not a foul, then the most physically dominant team will win the game. And that was Houston, just physically strong, powerful dudes. And just took the game over physically. And then what was funny is then that got done to them in the second half by Florida. Florida came out and had 7 fouls. Houston had 0. And then the next thing you know, Houston had 10 fouls and Florida still had 7. So like Florida fouled so much that, you know, their coach was going, hey, it's 7 fouls to 0. Are you going to call a foul on them? And then next thing you know, the 3 bigs for Houston were all in foul trouble, and there goes a 13-point or a 12-point lead evaporates. Yeah. Similar to how it happened to Duke. I mean, I don't know. They were great games. They were extremely physical basketball games, like old school physicality, but I don't know. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, I've seen the videos on Kelvin Sampson's practices. It's like a football scrimmage. They just beat each other up. And I wonder if officials, like you said, just go into games saying, well, we've got a physical team. We're just going to have to call this game differently.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they do that ahead of time or if they do that once the game gets going and they realize, oh, geez, if we keep calling this, their whole team's going to foul out.
Yeah.
But there's certain teams that play that way, that reach and hack and grab and bang. And I mean, the thing that I will give them credit for is they don't use their arms to push off. They literally bang into you with their body. And people that don't like physical play, when a guy doesn't have to push you with his arms, usually what happens is the guy that doesn't like it ends up using his arms to try to keep them away from him, and that guy ends up getting called for the foul. So that's where it's like true physicality. They don't have to use their hands to push and shove. They're using their bodies. And that was physical. That was Houston all year long. I mean, that was Florida. I mean, Florida came out the second half and just balled. They were impressive.
So we talked about the portal, who's come in. There are 2 that left. Gavin Griffiths, obviously, things just did not work out for him with what I believe most fans and possibly even the coaching staff expected. Nick Janowski, though, excellent shooter, red-shirted. Do you feel either one of those are much of a loss since we didn't know a whole lot, especially about Janowski?
The Janowski kid, I'm not that concerned about, honestly. I watched him practice, and he's a nice player. I don't know that he's better than Kale, frankly. The Griffiths kid was the disappointment. He's super athletic, bouncy, can shoot the lights out of it. I mean, the kid is a really, really talented kid, but he just couldn't put it together for whatever reason.
Yeah. How much do you think Rink will change this team next year if he's healthy?
Excuse me. Oh, yeah, Rink. Oh, well, if he's healthy and he's playing at the level he played at before, which might take him some time because he's missed a lot of basketball, Fred's offense becomes so fluid with a guy like that can handle the ball at the point of the triangle and run that triangle offense. If you think to the second half of the year how good Rink was before he got hurt and how fluid our offense was and how many easy baskets we would get because of his ability to really manage the basketball in the half court. If he's as good as he was, we'll be better next year. We will.
It feels like he and Burke could play well together. They're both really good passers. Burke didn't shoot it very well this past year, but I'm intrigued with them playing together.
Yeah, I want to see Burke come back in better shape. He was out of shape, period. And, he'd be huffing and puffing after one or two times up the floor. You can't shoot the basketball when you're out of breath. And I think he was just not in condition to play in the Big Ten. And he needs to work in the off season to play, be able to play the whole game and not need water after two trips up the floor. So I really hope that kid works at it in the off season. I know the ankle injury midway through the year, he kind of lost his conditioning a little bit, but I don't think he was in great condition before that. So he needs to work at it.
Is he one that is there anybody else that you would expect to jump into the portal?
Oh, you mean
from Nebraska to leave the team?
I wouldn't expect any of them to leave at this point. If you're still here, you have a very good chance to play an important role. But who knows? I don't understand what kids even think half the time. I mean, Jamarcus leaves last year, and he ends up playing at Rhode Island in the Atlantic 10 instead of playing in front of 15,000 every night in the Big Ten. I don't know why a kid would want to do that. Maybe he got paid a lot of extra money, but for a little more money, that doesn't seem like it'd be worth it.
Yeah, a lot of the players on the football team, and I think some on the basketball team are saying, you don't realize how good you have it when you're in Nebraska. The training table, obviously, the facilities are top notch, and I think maybe that doesn't matter as much in today's world of college basketball where everybody's getting paid, but it still matters.
Well, I don't name one kid that's left for the portal from Nebraska and went to a bigger, better school and had a great year where you go, oh gosh, maybe. The only kid on the football team was the dude that went back to Kentucky, the
Wandale Robinson.
Yeah.
No,
Wandale Robinson. He's the only guy that left and went on and did something really impressive. Beyond that, I can't name another kid in football or basketball that left and came out better for it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know. I think Fred is doing a better job of communicating how the portal works so that people that are looking to contribute to the program can, and they can understand how it works, what the philosophies are, what he's looking to do, how he's looking to build out his roster. I think just saying, hey, everybody, we need more money is not going to work to raise the money that we need to be competitive. And I mean, basketball, unlike football, you get 3 NBA guys in the portal and you're a Sweet 16 team. So, I mean, you can transform a basketball program with players overnight.
Well, the way the season ended with losing to Iowa, it felt, losing 6 in a row or 5 in a row at the end of the season, it felt like at that time, why go to another tournament? But the Crown was run so well. The production was great. I thought the announcing was good. It became an advertisement for Nebraska basketball. You win $17,000 a piece. But would you call the season overall a success for Nebraska basketball?
that you can say that. I think success would have been the NCAA tournament, 2 years in a row, 20 wins again. If that tournament, even if it would have ended in the first round, it's still being in the tournament is where that needs to be the bar. The crown, if we're going to play in it, the fact that they went and played in it and they beat the best team in the tournament, which was Boise State, and won the tournament, I think is a testament to everybody sticking with it and playing hard through it. But I mean, the goal of our program isn't to win the crown. It's to get in the tournament, and Fred's going to be the guy that's going to win a game in the tournament, and we're not going to have to listen to that anymore. You know, how we're the only Division I team that hasn't won in the NCAA tournament or whatever that dumb stat is.
Exactly. Before we let you go, Bo, I want to follow up on what you had just said about Fred is doing a better job of explaining what he needs and why he needs this money to build what he's doing. With what you've seen for additions, with the 5 additions, does it feel like he has more resources bottom line dollars, that he's had before?
Yeah, I mean, I do think, yeah. The short answer is yes. I think the other answer is not only does he have the resources, I think he knows how to construct a Big Ten roster now. So I think he's a little more clear with everybody about what he has to go get in the portal. Whereas in the past, I think Fred was still kind of bringing some of his philosophies from Iowa State and the wide open style of the Big 12. So, yeah, I mean, I think the last 3 seasons, Fred's built Big Ten basketball teams. I think he knows exactly how to construct that now, so that makes him dangerous in the portal. And if we can be, you know, better funded, then, you know, we will be able to get the guys we need, because I think to a person, even the kids that leave our program say that playing for Fred has been a good experience. I think he's a class act. So he's a good reflection of Nebraska for sure.
You're a very good golfer. I played with you before. Rory just won the Masters. Are you happy for Rory?
Down here. I am happy for Rory, especially the way it looked like he was going to give it away again. So I'm really happy that he got it.
The career slam goes to Rory McIlroy. I'm happy for him. I'm not a big Rory fan, but I'm happy for him. I'm really happy for him. Great stuff as always, Bo. We appreciate the time. You're in Cabo, right?
Yeah. Last night in Cabo. We're heading home tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Well, have
Safe travels, man.
Have a great last night. What's for dinner?
I don't know. We don't have anything set in stone tonight. I think we're going to stay on property.
All right. Thanks for the time, Bo. You're the best.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Here's Bo Reed, Nebraska basketball stud. I think you're right when you say he's the one that kind of started it all.
Well,
that shot.
I get it. Dave Hoppin, and they did get to the NCAA tournament. They lose to Western Kentucky, I believe, in Louisville in a regional back when it was still a 32-team tournament in 1990, or what that would have been 85. And then 86, Danny Nee comes in, gets them into the Final Four of the NIT. They lose to DePaul. Again, you're kind of, hey, wow, we made the NIT.
Right.
And then 90-91 comes around, Steve Smith and Michigan State, and Bo just goes, yeah, we're down by 1. Just give me a 3.
Yep. He had a couple big shots in his career. The one against Kansas, against Danny and the Miracles, was awesome as well. Yep. I think you're right. Rory's won it. We moved our guests around. We moved Bo to the top of the hour and Jim White to next, because we thought this could happen. It could go overtime. It did. Rory has won his career Grand Slam. He won the Masters, his first Masters. We'll talk about it with Jim White coming up next.
You can hear me? Well, everybody, congratulations to Tom. Best home salesman 10th year in a row.
Hey, Tom, what's your secret? I'll never tell.
Wait, is that a hole in the roof?
Yeah, but the floors are done by Emo Flooring.
Sold!
Emo's immense selection of carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl, tile, and area rugs turns any home into a dream home. Emo's flooring expert designers find what's perfect for you. Stress-free. See the styles, brands, and more at emoflooring.com.
Let us do the cooking this year with our Easter to-go meals by Venue at Home. Take and bake meals prepared fresh by our chefs, ready to heat and eat. Our meal packages have options for all sizes of families, with delicious meal choices including brown sugar glazed ham, herb roasted chicken with a lemon thyme cream sauce, and our garlic hickory crusted prime rib with au jus and a creamy horseradish sauce. Upgrade your feast with our mini starter, side, and dessert add-ons. Order today at holidaysbyvenue.com. That's holidaysbyvenue.com.
Johns Hopkins University has found that just mild hearing loss doubles your risk of dementia, so hearing loss isn't something to ignore.
But hearing aids are so expensive and ugly.
Not anymore. Meet Audion Hearing. You can get nearly invisible hearing aids without a prescription starting at $98 a pair, and they're ready to use right out of the box. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, and with over 1 million customers, Audion is easy to trust. Visit audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Hey Max, you look absolutely dashing in that purple tie. Ready to harness the world?
You bet, Daisy. I'm ready as I'll ever be. And might I say, your purple tie really pops with your vest.
Thanks. I almost went with a cape, but didn't want to come across as pretentious.
Nonsense. Anyone in our line of work should rock a cape.
You might be onto something, Max.
Phew, so here we go. First day on the job. We've got this, right?
Right. Don't forget, we both graduated from Dogs Inc. with honors.
Which means I can guide my human around a busy city with ease.
And I can give my human a restful night.
I hope my human is kind and loving.
And I hope mine likes wet kisses and zoomies.
Ready to make a difference?
Born ready. Let's go.
Discover how extraordinary dogs like Daisy and Max change lives at no cost to the recipients. Visit dogsinc.org.
We have viewers complaining already. Just go back to the show.
We would never interrupt a show to alert you about severe weather.
No, we're not going back to the show, folks. This is a dangerous situation, okay?
Because when severe weather hits,
hit by a series of devastating tornadoes,
a barrage of severe storms,
it is our show.
Our job here is to keep people safe.
Stay safe.
We still have power lines down. We still have hazards out there.
Stay informed.
Severe weather watch is now extended.
Stay on 1400 and 99.3 KLIN.
Back to Husker Rewind with Mike Melby and Tom Stevens. Old enough to remember Nebraska's national titles.
Oh, they don't have them yet. Look at Tommy Frazier. How many tackles can one man break? Touchdown.
Yeah, young enough to remember what they had for lunch.
How about a nice, greasy pork sandwich served in a dirty ashtray?
On 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back. Final few segments, final couple segments. Husker Rewind, Tom Stevens, Mike Melby. Boy, what an exhausting tournament. In fact, I just called Jim White. I said, what a great tournament. He goes, man, that was exhausting. I'm exhausted. Jim White, one of the best golfers in the history of Nebraska, 4-time Nebraska Section Teacher of the Year, 2-time Professional of the Year, played in 21 major championships. The first time around, Jim, Rory has a 4-footer to win the Masters and he misses it. What's going through your mind as a pro golfer when you have that situation running through your head?
Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of scar tissue, and he had recent scar tissue from missing the eagle putt on 15, and the exact same length putt, right to left, same putt, and he did the same thing. Unfortunately, even the best players on the planet can have some very negative thoughts at the wrong time, and unfortunately for Rory. But then, he comes right back and hits that phenomenal shot on 17 to 3 feet and makes it. And so he's in great shape. It's a perfect drive on 18, and then just had a hanging lie on 18 and knocks in the bunker, and 4-footer, missed it again. So
the career slam, he finally gets it, but that round kind of crystallized his career. So up and down, even though he's won he's won 4 majors now, and he has the career slam. It feels like Rory should have 10 to me, or 12 or 15. Doesn't it?
He's had opportunities, and I think you know, especially with the Masters, when if you look at that statistic of the guys that have won the Grand Slam, 3 of them completed the Grand Slam on their first attempt to do it. The other 2 did it on their 3rd attempt to do it. So the longer you wait, the tougher it gets. It's kind of like guys going through the tour school. You know, they miss by 1 or 2 shots one year. The next year they get in the same situation. They miss again. And I think Tom Siegman, for example, a Nebraska guy, it took him 10, 11, 12 times before he got his tour card. And it just gets harder and harder the longer it happens. I wouldn't be surprised if Rory comes back and wins a couple more Masters, because, you know, once he wins it once, it's going to be easier the next time, I think. So, but yeah, he had a lot of interesting things happen. You know, a couple of drives on the first couple holes that went in the bunkers that he was, you know, yard here or yard there, and he's got easy second shots, and, you know, he goes double bogey par instead of, you know, par birdie or birdie birdie on those first 2 holes. So, you know, and then you knew the game was on. I mean, it's so hard to back up the 6 straight threes he made on the day before, and he starts out, you know, 6-5. So anyway, that's golf. I mean, I'm impressed that he hanging. I told my wife before the playoff started, I said, if he hits the same drive as the same shot into that green, he is going to stick it, because he's not going to make the same mistake he made the first time. So, and sure enough, he did stuff one in there, and fortunately he made the 3-footer this time. But yeah, what an exhausting 18 holes of golf to watch. There's so many things that happen. And that's why, I mean, that back 9 at Augusta is the greatest 9 holes of golf you could ever hope for. I mean, there's so much that can happen, and that does. I mean, look at Oberg making 7 on the last hole, you know.
Hey, that looked like my game right there.
Yeah. A lot of people could relate to what he did there. You know, hit the top of the bunker, then blasted over the green, then hit a terrible next shot, and yeah. Triple bogey. Felt bad for the kid, but he'll be there again for sure. He's a fantastic player. He's fun to watch too. So
that he is. The pro at the fairways, Jim White, joining us on the Summit Lawns talk and text line. We can talk all about Rory and how he ultimately lost and then won the same tournament about 15 minutes apart. But the one guy that I would like you to kind of comment on, the final 11 holes for Justin Rose were nothing short of phenomenal. I believe he had 8 or 12 holes. I believe he had 8 birdies, a couple of bogeys in there, but he winds up in the playoff. What an amazing back 9 by him. Your thoughts on his play today, and then maybe share a time that you've gotten on one of those type of rolls where you hear Michael Jordan say, the basket looked like just a giant, peach basket that's 10 feet across, because for whatever reason I'm on. And there's times when all of a sudden the golf ball just goes exactly where you want it to all the time. But your thoughts on Justin Rose?
Yeah, I mean, a savvy veteran. He's played in 20 of these Masters tournaments, and so he's had well over 100 rounds of golf on it between practice rounds and tournament rounds. So he not only knows the golf course extremely well, but he's dealt with pressure. He's probably played in 80 major championships. So eventually you get comfortable, and I was very impressed. I mean, he's got such a great pre-shot routine, and for golfers out there, I mean, look at how he, prepares on every shot. And, he just goes through a great routine and has a beautiful golf swing. It's very much on plane, hits it very straight, doesn't curve it a whole lot unless he wants to or needs to hit a little left to right or right to lefter. And just get to look at the playoff hole. I mean, it's a beautiful drive and a beautiful second shot. And because he had a longer shot into the green, he wasn't able to spin it as much as Rory did with his gap wedge. So he's got a 15, 18 footer, and Rory spins it back there to 3 feet. So, yeah, very impressive. I mean, he did that. Was it the first day he shot? Yeah, he shot a bunch under the first day too, wasn't it? I mean, he gets on a run, and man, I tell you what, it's throwing darts.
What is that pre-shot routine that he does, Jim? That he kind of dips down low, and what's he trying to do there?
He's trying to get the club kind of back out in front of him so he gets this in, and get the weight into the left side, loading into the ground. So, and then the way he rotates left going through there, being very conscious of where the club face is throughout that little routine. And I always tell people, I said, if you're having, an issue, you're trying to break a bad habit, you'll see tour players do this too, but they'll exaggerate a practice routine, just try and get the feel in an exaggerated fashion, knowing that when they hit the real shot, they're going to be where they want to be. So, it's a good lesson for people. Have a good routine and have a routine that's going to help you. If you have a swing flaw that you're trying to work on, have some little pre-shot or some little drill that you do to kind of help you with that change you're trying to make. So does that beautifully. It was fun to watch. I mean, then you got Patrick Reed throwing in that 8-iron on 17, one opposite of the hole, and there's so much stuff that goes on in this tournament. The two great shots that Rory hit was that 6-iron the day before on 15. And then that big hooking, I think he hit a 6-iron again on 15 today.
How about the one through the trees on, I think it was 7. He hit one through the trees. I don't know how it got on the green, but it was like 3 feet. I think he missed the putt. I don't know if he made the putt or not, but
he did miss, and that was one I told my wife. I said that's the one that won in the tournament right there.
Yeah.
There's so much that happened after that because that was such a hard shot. And I love the fact that he had a big smile on his face after he hit it, because you could tell the effort that he used to hit that shot, to get it up high enough to get over that tree and then to get the perfect distance and land it over that bunker. It was something else. That was fun to see. And especially with that horrible start that he had, it was kind of fun to see that. And then he kind of got things going pretty good, but then he, that
was a crazy round.
Which is crazy.
Nebraska Hall of Fame golfer Jim White, pro at the fairways of Lincoln. I think about that hilly course, and people can't. I don't know if you've ever played Augusta. Have you played Augusta?
No, I've not.
Never played it, but I'm sure you know how hilly it is. What's it like as a golfer, even a pro golfer, to walk that for 4 days?
Yeah, those guys are in such great shape. I mean, if the caddies can make it around carrying a 30-pound sack on their back or more, the pros have it easy. Those caddies are the ones that are working pretty hard. But yeah, they're it's not an easy walk. But again, those guys are so conditioned that they're not even thinking about how tired their legs are playing that tournament. So
Jim White. I want to talk about Rory real quickly, because he finally accomplishes something he was reaching for his entire career, and to do it in that way. What's it mean for his career, you think? And is this the crowning achievement? Do you think this will lead to more Masters wins?
I do. I mean, Roy's he's in that prime of his golfing life. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back and wins another major this year, and wouldn't surprise if he wins another Masters, because the Masters golf course is kind of built for him. I mean, anybody that drives it as long and straight as he does. I mean, and he's putted well this year, and he knows how to win. I mean, he's been doing this for a long time, and it's a Hall of Fame. But this was the biggie. I mean, getting the Grand Slam. That's in the history of golf, he's the 6th one to do it. So, and you're in the company of Hogan and Nicklaus and Player and
Sarazen.
Anyway,
was Sarazen?
Yeah. So I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's so few that have done it that. Player did it. Gary Player.
Yep.
Player, Nicholas Palmer, and
I know Sarazen was
Gene Sarazen, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods.
Oh, Ben Hogan. We were missing.
Tiger. Yeah.
Is he? Where does he rank as far as? I mean, because I always think of sometimes Rory as underachieving, but he's still won so many tournaments and now 5 majors. But where does he rank as far as sheer talent? Do you think he's got to be top 5?
He's way up there. I mean, that golf swing is ridiculous. It's so balanced. It's so powerful. I don't think Bryson was out hitting him today, and you can watch the effort level. It looks like Bryson's swinging it way harder than Rory does to create the distance. So anytime you're the best driver of the golf ball, you got to be up there with the best of all time. Nicklaus was a great driver of the golf ball, and that's why he was able to win. It's when you're hitting wedges into greens and everybody else is hitting 8 irons, eventually you're going to win, especially when you drive it straight as he does. So, I think, Rory's going to go down as one of the great players of all time.
There you go.
And
you're the co-developer of the PX3 fitting system. I'm guessing you're still fitting clubs, and it's been a big success for you. How's that going?
Yes, it's done really, really well. Thank you for asking about our fitting system, and we got the patent because what we do is a little bit different. We think we do the best job in the industry for matching golf clubs. I think a lot of people, they go and get a driver fitting, for example, and they'll hit a bunch of drivers and try a bunch of different shafts, and they'll do it with a launch monitor, and the salesperson will say, well, this driver gives you the best specs. This is one you should have. And then, but they don't ever, ask or test out the irons to see if the irons are going to match the driver. And that can be a problem. So, golf's a weird sport in that we have 14 different pieces of equipment. Every other sport's got one. There's only one basketball, there's only one hockey stick, there's only one tennis racket. And so golf's unique in that way. So, you hit the driver and you go out in the fairway and you pull out an iron, you hit it thin or fat, you think, well, what did I do? My swing must be something wrong. Sometimes it's the arrow, not the Indian. So that's what we try to eliminate, is that doubt, and get you into clubs that fit you perfectly throughout the entire set. So
good stuff. Thanks, Jim. We'll have you back on for the next major this summer.
Buddy. Thanks, Tom.
What's up next? Is it the U.S. Open? I think it is the U.S. Open. Jim White.
The PGA is next.
Oh, PGA is next.
They moved the PGA from later to May now. So, yep, PGA is next. So.
All right. We'll call you for that.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks,
Jim
Jim.
White, pro at the Fairways of Lincoln. Big victory for Rory McIlroy. Roy wins his 5th major, but he completes the Grand Slam with his victory today at Augusta. More on the way.
You're listening to Husker Rewind. Sean Hannity is next on 1499.3 KLIN.
There's no better time than right now to choose your perfect wedding band at Elder Jewelry. All of Elder Jewelry's in-stock wedding sets are priced lower than anyone else in town. And make that band sparkle with huge discounts on in-stock diamonds, too. At Elder Jewelry, they want the memory to last, not the payments. Beauty and quality that you can be proud of, and the affordability you can appreciate. Elder Jewelry, 29th and Pine Lake Road.
Elder Jewelry.
Whether fishing is your passion or your way of achieving zen, getting away to Ballard's Resorts at the Lake of the Woods for the Walleye Connection 2025 is a chance to create unforgettable memories. Expert guides lead you to the best spots and the biggest fish on a 27-foot sports craft. Cabins are fully accommodated with generous meals. Luxury coaches will drive you to Minnesota and back. It's happening July 13th through 17th at Ballard's Resort on the Lake of the Woods. Get details at KLIN.com.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
They just told us right away that we're going to house you, we're going to feed you, and every single one of his medical bills is just all taken care of.
They've saved my family from financial ruin. It allowed me and my wife both to focus on the most important thing, which was the health and well-being of our son.
We have phenomenal research, outstanding clinical care, and the generosity of public, which allow us to treat patients regardless of what it takes. And that's what makes St. Jude so magical.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, families never receive a bill for treatment, travel, housing, or food, because the only thing a family should worry about is helping their child live.
Doctors send us the toughest cases to be treated at St. Jude, and our patients come from all over the world.
When we come here, they told me, don't worry, everything's been taken care of.
We could never repay St. Jude for what they've given us.
Because of you.
Gracias a ti.
Because of you.
There is St. Jude.
In times of struggle, conflict, poverty, good finds a way. Good is happening, even now. Good never stops, and neither does Children International. With support from caring friends, we help provide children and families with the critical essentials they need. Together, we can help end poverty. To learn more, go to children.org.
It's the most complete weekly recap of Husker sports.
Nebraska's going to get a swing outside. Kelsey feed off the block and off. They did it! Nebraska national champions! Nebraska's a national champion. Go celebrate!
Back to Husker Rewind with Mike Melby and Tom Stevens on 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back for the final segment of today's Husker Rewind. Tom Stevens is right over there.
Fun show.
It is.
My
My
name
name
is
is
Mike Schaefer,
Melby.
Bo Reed, Jim White, our guests. Sorry, Mike, I stepped on you again. I apologize.
Good. It's all good.
It's all
Yeah,
good.
great guests. And then this is kind of the all name show. We talked a little bit about Ugnis Yerushevicius. Yerushevicius.
He's the new
Oogie.
6'10" big man for Nebraska basketball.
MAC
They just
player
call him
of the
Oogie.
year.
I
Yeah.
think I'm just going to call him Oogie his whole career.
And then what is wrong with college football today? Ask Nico Iamaleava.
That's easier pronounced than
It
Oogie.
is. In case you do not know who Nico Iamaleava is, he was, at least, the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers. And after putting up pedestrian at best numbers
Well,
last season,
he was only a freshman.
I get it, but pedestrian at best numbers, very average. He demanded an extra $1.5 million or else.
That's
Well,
right.
Josh Heupel said else.
Yeah, he didn't show up to practice on Friday. He said, "Okay, if I don't get my money," I think he was making $2.5 million.
And
He wanted $4 million.
$4. Yeah.
So he said, "Well, through his agent, that I'm not going to show up to practice." And so Josh Heupel just said, "Fine." I'm not convinced. Fine, and then see you later. We don't need you. I wonder if that's a tactic by either Maleeva or it is by Heupel by saying, we really need you and we're going to call you. But he said that to the media. You know, sometimes it's negotiation. Because
This
already
doesn't sound like negotiation.
Already Nico's reached out to Oregon and they said no.
Well, if you're a college football coach and you've got a guy that was I think he was a 4-star recruit.
Yeah.
And he put up average numbers.
I don't know if he redshirt or not. I don't know if he was a true freshman, but nonetheless, they were pretty decent. He was 10th in passing in the SEC. So they weren't great numbers, but he got his team to the college football playoff.
I'm not disagreeing that he's got talent, that he's good. But at the end of the day, you have, 13, 14 games of your resume, and you haven't earned what you got paid last year based on those numbers. And now you're going to sit there and go, nope, you don't pay me essentially a 75% raise. I'm not playing.
And I don't know how much of this is Nico saying, I want more money, or his agent saying, I want more. We want more money.
Or mommy and daddy.
Right.
Or family members.
And that's what tends to happen with a lot of these contracts is it's not just the kid that wants to get rich. It's the family that wants to get rich.
Yeah.
Because now you can be a multimillionaire and never play in the pros. And I hope he does well. And he'll end up somewhere. He says that he's going to the portal. He's signing the papers, signed them on Friday, and he's going to the portal. Is that a negotiation tactic? And does he end up with Tennessee? Because Tennessee now has a redshirt freshman quarterback named Jack Merklinger, who's never played. Now, if it's not Merklinger, it'll probably be somebody else from the portal.
Well,
but
that's
what
the
can
whole
they
thing,
get?
though, is there's going to be 8 to 10 starting in the SEC level quarterbacks in the portal after spring? I mean, if I'm Josh Heupel, to me, that's great business sense. And that's great for my locker room to get a guy like that out of my locker room.
Yeah. And again, I'm not sure it's the guy, or is it the family, or is it the agent, or all of the above? I don't know. Or is Tennessee in negotiation saying we don't want you, meaning they really do want you? And they're calling the agent as we speak.
Every report out is, I don't know that there's any nefarious behind the scenes stuff. Every report out is that they cut all ties with him.
Yeah. And that happens sometimes in contracts.
I don't think this is he's going back to Tennessee and this is all smoke and mirrors for the public. I think
this is one of those things. This is a team that made the college football playoff. If they look at the portal and say, there's nobody in there that can win like Nico can win, there's a chance that he knows the system. You're not bringing in a new quarterback that has to learn a new foreign language, and that's what an offense is. That's what Holgerson says time and time again, that one of the things that really impresses him most about Dylan Raiola is that he learned this offense at a very high level very quickly. Most quarterbacks aren't like that. And not only the offense, but all the checks that go with it. I'm just telling you, he has put Tennessee in a bind. And whoever they bring in, maybe they're great, but maybe they're not.
But what does it do for Tennessee? This is why you don't negotiate with terrorists and with kidnappers
right?
And whatever, because what
when
happens,
that terrorist is going to cost you $80 million or whatever they make every year.
If Nico turns around and gets his $4 million after this stunt, and Heupel, after stating publicly, we've cut all ties,
he could ruin a locker room.
Then not only ruin the locker room, but you've now lost all credibility with anybody if you're Josh Heupel.
Yeah.
There's no, I do not see a way he comes back.
I'm just saying that sometimes you hear these comments in the NFL.
This is
owners.
not, but this, you're talking about guys.
We're getting closer to the NFL.
I get it, but we're not talking about a Pro Bowl quarterback.
No, you're not. But even bad quarterbacks are getting big contracts in the NFL because you have to have a quarterback.
I get it. But to me, the optics of this, if he winds up back at Tennessee making $4 million a year, they're insanely bad. Not only for Tennessee, but for college football.
To your point, his numbers were pedestrian, as you put it. 2,600 yards, 19 TDs, 5 INTs. Nothing terrible. Nothing spectacular. 63% of his passes completed. They went 10-3. They lost to Ohio State in the college football playoff. They were a pretty good team, but nothing about Nico said, oh, that's the best quarterback in the SEC, or even a top 5 quarterback in the SEC.
Well, as far as statistics and everything else, and just, where guys are looked upon from the media as, well, the best quarterback is this guy, and probably the least talented, or the one that had the worst season, is this guy. Well, in the SEC, you've got 18 teams, and he was 8th to 10th best quarterback in the SEC, making more money than probably half of the other quarterbacks.
But
now he's demanded to be literally the highest paid player obviously at Tennessee, and one of the highest paid in college football.
But I will say this, when you're a redshirt freshman or freshman quarterback in the SEC, you're going to get future NFL players everywhere. And you're asking that guy to manage, if he's a freshman in most cases, manage the game, don't get us beat. Get us to the college football playoff. Check, check, check. All those things accomplished. They were a very good football team. There were some people that thought they could win it all with Nico at quarterback. I'm just saying, quarterbacks, if Nebraska were to lose Dylan Raiola to the portal on Wednesday, and they won't because they're paying him, say goodbye to the season. It's over. You're not, you asked Mike Schaefer about Jalen Gramstad, who I think could be okay, but he's not going to lead Nebraska to 7, 8, 9 wins or the college football playoff. You're going to have to start a freshman quarterback, and that's not going to go well.
Maybe I'm looking at it more from the optics of business. Anytime I've been in management in various jobs, probably for about 25 years of my working career that doesn't involve a microphone. Mm-hmm. And it's probably been 4 times that I've had an employee come in and give me essentially an ultimatum.
Old tomato.
And the give me $4 million or else. I mean, it's
But that's an employee
Different-
making
I get
$60,000,
it.
$80,000 a year.
I get it, and it's not.
You're not talking to the
trust me,
CEO.
they're not making 60 or 80,000 a year. I'm just talking about business in general. If somebody walks into me as one of my subordinates, I'm their manager, and they say, "You either do this or else." 4 times it's happened to me. 4 times that person did not spend 5 more minutes employed with the company I was with.
Yeah.
I said, and every time I said, "I will take or else." I'm taking this as your resignation.
Don't let the door hit you in the butt.
Yeah.
And that's the way to go.
the way I look at it. So to me, I find it very difficult to believe that Josh Heupel, who I think is an incredible coach and a really, really smart businessman from the standpoint of where he's at with what he's got to do in the world today of college football. There's no way I think he can let Iamaleava come back into that locker room.
My prediction, he makes $4 million somewhere because there's some team willing to pay him $4 or more $million. And the reports are, by the way, he was getting money while in high school. In high school, the total value of the contract is somewhere around $10 million, and they started payments while he was in high school. So they've led him down this road. I think there have been some decisions made by Tennessee that weren't the best to start with.
May very well be,
They
but
might
at the same
be,
time,
yeah. Speaking of the portal, Matt Rule spoke about the portal because it opens up this Wednesday. This is what he had to say about it.
I left Temple to be the head coach at Baylor. Temple gave me my start. Temple had me an assistant coach. Temple gave me my first head coaching job. But when the time came, I took on a new challenge. So I exited there. So I get it. Number 2, I left Baylor to go be the head coach in Carolina. So I don't fault somebody when they leave here. I just tell the guys, make sure you're walking into the right situation. I've walked into many situations in my life, business, professional, they tell you one thing and it ends up being another. So be careful. Say to yourself, who am I getting the information from? Can I trust it? And that's all I want for our guys because I desperately want them all to be happy and healthy and be successful. So sometimes I think there's really 2 groups. There's the guys who aren't going to play and they really want to play. And whether it's 105 or they're just not quite good enough. And it looks like that's going to be the way for the rest of their career. And they want to move down. We try to help them as much as we can. And I love watching them succeed. There's a kind of a second group of guys who are good enough to play here. And I think they should stick it out and fight. I think too many people, outside people, parents, coaches, we're always trying to find like a better situation. But if you really are an NFL player or you're really a great player, you'll make your situation good enough by just getting better.
Yep. There you go. He's saying don't leave because we have great facilities. We have a great training table, great weight room. We'll get you bigger, stronger, faster. And sure, you can go take some money that's offered at another school. But sometimes you get there and Bear. And you realize that maybe it's not, the pastures aren't greener on the other side, that it's not better than what it was here in Lincoln. Or maybe you do find that you like that check and it does cash. I think some players are finding that when they take that opportunity for other schools, the check is not cashing.
Well, that's possible as well. And to Mike Schaefer's point that he made earlier in the show, Wan'Dale Robinson is really the only Nebraska football or basketball player that has transferred out of Nebraska and gone on and done good things, better things than they were doing here.
Think about other players that have done that. There haven't been, but yeah, you're right. Wan'Dale is the big one.
To that point, 2 of them left last year. One went and played in the SEC where he played about 6 minutes a game and averaged 2 points a game, where he would have been in the rotation, possibly starting lineup, and would have been a huge contributor at Nebraska. That's CJ Wilcher, who I just saw his Twitter. He's got the crown trophy in his hand, sporting a Nebraska jersey. I don't know exactly where it was
Does
at.
He have another year of eligibility? I think he's on his 16th year.
No, yeah, he's done.
Finally done.
But Jamarcus Lawrence, again, another guy, he's coming back this year, or in 25, 26 for Fred's team.
And it sounds like Jamarcus regrets leaving.
It really does. And was it a paycheck? And to Bo's point, you can play in front of 15,000 people. You can be the point guard, even if it's maybe not the exact role that you want, but you can, work into it and figure it out and just go be a team player. Or you can go play in front of 650 to 2,500 people a night. Maybe the check is bigger than what he was getting here, but you got to play the role you wanted to.
Right.
That's one of those where, to Bo's point that he made earlier in the show, I don't get that decision.
I don't know a lot of other fan bases that support players the way Nebraska does.
Well,
and They show up 16,000 strong, 15,000 strong for teams that aren't very good. And this team had a chance to make the NCAA tournament. But even during the losing streak, the 6-game losing streak, the 5-game losing streak, losing, 6 of the last 7, whatever it was, to end the season, the fan support was still there. There's a lot of, even if it's not money, there are a lot of really good things about this fan base, about this university. And you eat pretty well. And you still get paid pretty well. I just think that Rule's right, that maybe you ought to consider just staying and try to get better and improve your stock that way.
Jamarcus Lawrence made the point that he always felt love from Nebraska fans at Rhode Island. He said, I'd have a good game.
Yeah,
and I've got
me up on
Nebraska
Twitter.
fans tweeting at me, hey,
Right.
Congrats, great game tonight. Glad you guys won. Whereas we've seen other teams that have had individuals that have left, and we don't even want to get into the vitriol that they wind up in their DMs and that they get tweeted at them. Oh, I mean, it's hateful and nasty, and oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
We talk a lot about Nebraska basketball, the way the season ended with Iowa. And I was one that said, you just end it. Just cut the cord. I've had enough. I'm so glad they played in the Crown. And you were the one that talked me into it because I was thinking this is going to be terrible. But the production was great. They got great games from Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary. They beat Arizona State, and you thought, well, that's a bad team. They beat Georgetown, that's a bad team. And then they beat Boise, and it just became more fun, and it built to a crescendo to the point where they're down 14 or whatever it was in the championship game to UCF. Juwan goes down, and it's definitely over, but it's not. He comes back, they win the game, and he wears the crown, and the hug between Bryce and Juwan was so cool. I'm glad they stuck it out. Fred Hoiberg said it was the hardest season of his life.
I believe it.
I mean, exhausting, because he's the one that tried to convince them, let's play in the Crown. I think the players convinced him. They win the money. He's recruiting at the same time. I think he's completely exhausted and happy for the offseason, but I'm so glad that he did it. And I think it could lead to something pretty cool next year. I really do.
We'll see. 5 new ones are already in the boat.
Yep. And apparently, according to Robin Washut, maybe one more, a transfer from Utah.
I think we'll see 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't think that it's done yet, and I don't think it can be done yet for Nebraska basketball. We'll see you in 2 weeks. We're off for Easter.
Happy Easter.
Yep. See you later. Bye-bye.
See ya.
If you're like me,